if you'll call us to order and get us started.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Here.
Ms. Clark?
Here.
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
We need to start first with the calendar hearing first, which is on the very top of the agenda. Mrs. Crew.
Yeah, so at this calendar, or this meeting is the calendar hearing, and that's just when the board takes a look at the recommendation that I have for calendar for the 25-26 school year. And you have that in your packet, in your manila folder. So a draft was disseminated to the entire, actually to TEA, and TEA gave their recommendation of calendar A. In addition to that, I send a survey to the entire staff. I did that about a month and a half ago, and asked them to prioritize different scenarios that they would like. For example, 2 weeks at winter break, a week at Thanksgiving break, or a fall break, out before Memorial Day, or Labor Day rather. And that'd be good if they were out before Labor Day. So anyway, both of those pieces of data corresponded, so I'm recommending draft calendar A.
Mrs. Crew, in the past, we have tried very hard. The county kind of goes on a similar schedule. Is that the case again this year, or do you know yet?
I do know, the superintendents met a couple of weeks ago and we reviewed our draft calendars. And we all have the same spring break and Christmas break.
Okay. Board members, any other questions?
Just one, we have the same number of days for kids being out of school who will be in service. We don't have any of the, what used to be the virtual days. Those are all kind of, for professional development, those are all either front-loaded or scattered throughout.
That is correct. Although we used to have 5 professional development days, you'll see that this calendar reflects that we only have 4. We have reduced it by 1.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? I hear nothing, Mrs. Crew. You bring that back for December and we vote on it. Is that a true statement?
That's true.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Exciting times in our December meeting. All right, let's go ahead and stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, please. Like right over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Appreciate you all joining us this evening. I know our room's a little packed, but I see some empty seats, so we should be good in here. Wonderful. As we start our meeting, I'd like to remind everybody that one, we're going to use our outside voices. Mr. Dixon's not here to get us our As we start our meeting, we'd like to remind everybody that this is a meeting of Tecumseh Local Schools Board of Education that takes place in a public forum, but it is not a public meeting. I'd like to ask for you to silence your phones at this time. If you do need to take a call, I'd ask that you move out to the hallway to finish your call and rejoin us when you're done and you're able to rejoin. A final request, I'd ask that you keep any side conversations to a minimum. We would like to move through our agenda as quickly as we can, and the chatter and whispers are sometimes distracting, not only to the meeting that we're having, but to your neighbors that you're sitting by. So if you can do that, that would be great. I appreciate it. We will go ahead and move into the minutes from our last meeting. Board members, I need a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from the October 15th, 2024 board meeting. And thank you, Mr. Mills. Thank you, Mr. Stafford. Board members, any changes, errors, additions we need to make at this time? I hear none. Mrs. Robinson.
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes, thank you. We're moving into communication, and before I turn that over, I just have a couple things that I need to address as well. Hold on, I lost my notes. I want to take a moment regarding the October 2024 meeting minutes that we just addressed, and address the motion related to policy 5223 for release time for religious instruction. At our last meeting, I mistakenly accepted a motion to rescind the policy. While the policy was also on our September meeting agenda, it was not in the form that was presented to us in the October meeting. Therefore, I should not have accepted the motion and the vote at that time. The item has been returned to our agenda this evening, and we will discuss that with anticipated action at our December meeting. I'd also like to take a moment to address some levy misinformation. We are past the levy. I do need to let you know that as it's the Secretary of State or the State Auditor, I can't remember which one, Auditor. Our Auditor of State says that as board members, superintendent, and treasurer, we are able to provide factual, verifiable, and neutral information regarding a levy. And so I'd like to clear up a couple pieces of misinformation that were out. I'd like to encourage everyone that's in attendance at this meeting, anyone who reaches out for public record, and I didn't turn that on. Hold on, please, thank you. Oh, but it's being recorded, right? Perfect. Anybody that reaches out for public records or reads the minutes. Mrs. Crew and Mrs. Robinson both have open door policies to discuss the needs of our district and what it takes to run a school district with 5 active buildings, more than 375 total employees, 70 plus specific grant programs, and 700 students on IEPs. They would welcome a call or a conversation. During our levy season, one person reached out to Mrs. Robinson regarding the levy. She was able to answer their questions, and that conversation ended with a better understanding of what we were asking for and what was happening in our schools. Related to the line items for the district's 5-year forecast that were causing a stir, the lines were being highlighted on social media without being called out directly. Those line items were salary and benefits. As you'll see tonight, again, and have seen for years, salary and benefits are the highest cost to our district. This is not new or suspect. In my professional career, outside of the schools, but with over 20 years in finance, these are traditionally the highest cost line items for any entity. This is not unique to Tecumseh Local or to business in general. We have the benefit at Tecumseh Local of having a very tenured and very educated teaching team. With tenure in education comes salary. We should be cheerleading that tenure and education as it is a direct benefit to our students and their learning over time. This is not a negative and should not be called out as line items as such. And yes, our teachers' average salary is above the median average salary for the community. Again, tenure and education make a difference. It's not a bad thing for Tecumseh Local to have those 2 line items. I also want to call out that Mrs. Crew and Mrs. Robinson are not in any way, shape, or form the highest paid superintendents and treasurers in Clark County and the surrounding area, as I have asked for additional information. These 2 individuals are middle to low end of the pack, and they do an excellent job for us. But because of how we sit financially, that's how they sit financially. Again, they're not the highest paid. I want to be really, really clear in that. There's also a difference between an annual audit information and our general fund that Mrs. Robinson will report on tonight in the 5-year forecast. There are 70 grant funds, again, that are being managed in our district. Those dollars can only be used for very specific things related to those grants. They are not included in our general fund. You will not see those line items in our 5-year forecast. These are 2 different looks at our finances. Every year we are audited That audit information is what showed the increase in funds coming in, not our general fund. But I would like to call out that Mrs. Robinson has challenged us continuously since she has been here in being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. And in combination with Mrs. Crew and all of our leaders in the district, we have found several places to continue to work on finding those places to bring more money to the general funds. Perfect. Finally, I want to be clear. This is a personal one to me, sorry. Matt Mills is not a liar. And I feel like a fifth grader as I say that, and as I wrote it earlier, I shouldn't have to say that. I appreciate Mr. Mills taking the time and dedicating the energy to leading our levy committee for Tecumseh Local. Personally, Mr. Mills is one of the most thoughtful and thorough individuals I have had the opportunity to work with in my professional career. I challenge all of us that rather than name calling, perhaps a cup of coffee to figure out where the difference in interpretation lies when we all receive the same information. Again, Mrs. Robinson loves talking about school finance. She will educate anybody who gives her a call. She has taught the 5 of us as board members so much about it. Mrs. Crew will talk to you about the ins and outs of why we have schools set up the way that they are and how we work to do our very best for our students each and every day. I challenge each of us, as responsible members of this educational community, to talk to each other, ask questions, and not depend on social media for the truth in any situation. We are better than that, and our students deserve better than that. And with that, Mrs. Crew, I will turn it over to you for communication and reports.
I have no communications at this portion of the meeting, nor reports, so I'll do it at the end.
Perfect, thank you. All right, into public comments. We have planned time on the agenda for public comments in 2 places as we move through the agenda. During this first section, we open up to items directly related to items on the published meeting agenda, which you should all have a copy of. A few notes, as contained in our board policy for public participation. We are trying something new this evening as a board, and we do have this meeting being recorded. It's something that we've talked about on and off for several years. Our recording will not get loaded anywhere. We're still learning. And so we want to have it. It will be part of the public record as needed. And we will continue to work on making that accessible as we go. I also believe that there is another recording back there. This is allowed as part of our public policy, our public meeting policy. Regarding comments, there's 30 minutes set aside for public comments now related to the agenda. If there's a need for further time, I will pause the comments and entertain a motion from the board for an additional 30 minutes with a motion to extend that time. I have asked Mrs. Robinson to be our timekeeper this evening as we go forward. So if you're chatting away and you get a high sign, from Mrs. Robinson, that would be your sign. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person unless extended by the presiding officer. During public comments, no single participant can speak on the same topic more than once until all have been heard. All statements shall be directed to the board as a whole, as we preside as one official body. This is not a back and forth. We will take your comments, make notes, and have follow-up as needed. We can ask the superintendent and the treasurer or anyone else as related for additional follow-up during the meeting as is appropriate. I would ask that your comments remain respectful at all times. Profanity, derisive language, and intimidation will not be tolerated, and the commenter may be asked to leave the meeting if such happens. Comments and questions related to a specific student or student situation are not allowed in this public forum. If appropriate, an individual may be invited to executive session after the meeting by the Board of Education. We will not and have not commented on pending or ongoing legal matters. With that, am I going in order? I'm going in order. All right. Jeremy Griffith. You're up first, sir. Are we happy to read card or does that matter? Peggy's taking care of everything. Great. If you'll step up to the podium for your comments, that would be great. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Griffiths. I have called this community home for 49 years. I graduated from Tecumseh High School in 1994. My wife graduated in 2000, and my daughter graduated in 2019. I've had the privilege to serve this community as a volunteer coach for many years. I am currently a volunteer driver for Bethel Lifewise School District. My role is to transport the kids from Bethel Elementary to the church for class and back to the school. As a volunteer, I get to see how valuable these classes are for each and every student. And I can say I have every confidence in every teacher, volunteer, and driver at Lifewise working with children. And I pray that the Tecumseh team will get a chance to work with my grandchildren. Picking up the kids from the school causes very little or no new transitions or distractions. Lifewise operates within the existing transitions of the school schedule. Our program works closely with each school district to determine what time during the school day fits best. The Tecumseh School District will have the oversight to decide the most suitable schedule as they accommodate the community's request to exercise their religious liberties through release time religious instruction. Lifewise is not new or untested. Hundreds of schools around the country are serving their communities seamlessly. Examples: Urbana, Springfield-Shawnee, Tip City, Bethel, Heber Heights. A school district that has release time policy recognizes the deserved needs of the families it serves from a neutral position. By maintaining a release time policy, the school board acknowledges that every family is unique. The district is welcoming families of all backgrounds and empowering parents to make choices that are best aligned with their values and their beliefs. Canceling religious programs isn't about inclusion, and silencing religious speech isn't being tolerant. If a school chooses to backtrack on release time policy, it is not being neutral. It's taking a stand against something that's important to many. I ask that you honor religious liberty and respect the diversity in our families by upholding release time policy. We would like you to please consider only what is true about release time policy programs like Lifewise. We would also ask that you let the parents decide. Thank you for your time, and God bless.
Jackie Mann, second on my list.
Dear esteemed board members and superintendent, my name is Jacqueline Mann. I live at 113 East Main Street in Medway, Ohio, and my son attends Donaldsville Elementary. Thank you for providing the time this evening to share my deep concern for your plans to rescind Policy 5223, Agenda Item 4S, Release Time for Religious Instruction. To begin, I want to clarify the policy we are discussing this evening. A release time policy allows students to be dismissed during the school day for religious instruction, provided the program is off school property, privately funded, and parent permitted. Upholding the policy is not just in the interest of Lifewise or Christianity, but supports the diverse needs of all religious families. Release time for religious instruction is not new nor controversial. The 1952 Supreme Court ruling in Zorich versus Clausen is not outdated. Rather, it serves as the foundational precedent of our modern public educational system. The same Supreme Court, which courageously ended segregation in Brown versus Board of Education just 2 years later, recognized the value of release time for religious instruction. Today, release time is a time-honored practice that respects the rights of parents and supports the comprehensive development of students. As a parent, this policy directly impacts my family's ability to allow our son to receive education that supports our family's values, religious beliefs, and reinforces his sense of community by adding trusted adults to his inner circle. A Lifewise program is legal, simple, and practical. legal, we diligently adhere to federal, state, and local laws and policies to keep religious and public institutions separate. Simple. We focus on the central messages of the Bible, foundational themes that speak to common issues of people, and practical. We want to see lasting change in our schools, communities, and students by making instruction actionable. For decades, research has shown the positive impact of religious education, particularly in character development, mental health, academic outcomes, and community involvement. The research is robust, peer-reviewed, and settled. Religious instruction positively impacts areas of deep concern to both educators and families. In the folders I provided for you this evening, you will see surveys from a national consulting firm that found school attendance improved, and schools with LifeWise programs saw declines both in and out of school suspensions. Surveys also reveal strong support from educators and parents alike. As mentioned before, there are many benefits to allowing LifeWise to serve the families of our district. One that has not yet been mentioned is the ability to meet the physical needs of our families in our district. Many program directors, teachers, and volunteers have reported the ability to provide food for children who asked for prayer when their refrigerator was empty, and have been able to provide medication for a grandmother who had no way to afford it until a child brought this deep concern to the attention of the LifeWise staff. The teachers of our district already have enough expectations to meet and should not have to worry about the physical needs as well of our students. As an instructor at MVCTC, I will be the first to say needs like these impact the ability of our students to focus during the day and pay attention. This program provides the unique opportunity for students to share their prayer requests that allows us to serve one another and our community in a profound way. Our committee is seeking the ability to allow our children to be released once a week for 50 minutes to receive religious education. Simply put, we the parents are electing to add one more subject to our students' school day, once a week. Please maintain policy 5223 as it is, so we have that ability. Thank you so much for your time.
I have Steve Mann listed next.
Esteemed board members, superintendent crew. My name is Steve Mann. I live at 113 East Main Street in Medway. My son attends Donaldsville Elementary. Thank you for granting me time to speak about agenda item 4S, policy review. I'm going to review our logistical plan that we have solidified since we last met with Superintendent Crew. First, I want to say that the LifeWise Steering Committee of Tecumseh is dedicated to working with the district and the building principal to find the best time during the week for our program. Students will be off school property for a maximum of 50 minutes each week. Students will only be involved with LifeWise if their parents have elected for them to attend, which meets the first requirement of parent permitted. During our initial meeting with Superintendent Crew, we understood that there's a need for Park Lane students to participate in math and reading cluster groups, making it more difficult to find 50 minutes each week for religious instruction. So immediately we began the process of creating a new logistical plan to host a pilot program at Donaldsville Elementary School, partnering with my son's principal, who he affectionately calls Mr. B. This new plan is featured in the folders that we presented to the board today. We have already secured a classroom at Crossroads Baptist Church to host our first LifeWise pilot, meeting the second requirement of off-school property. We will shuttle the students from Donaldsville to Crossroads Baptist Church, a short journey of 3 miles from the school building. We plan to raise funds in order to purchase a standard-sized bus and have it painted red. We'll also raise funds to hire a program director, teachers, and bus driver, bringing additional jobs to our community. Safety is our utmost concern, as I'm sure it is yours as well. All employees and volunteers will undergo extensive background checks to ensure the safety of our students. In addition to background checks, our classroom at Crossroads Baptist will meet all the same safety standards as any school building, and we will enforce extensive safety and security protocols similar to those of many schools. Ohio's release time religious instruction law, section 3313.6022, has also been included in your folder. This law requires that the sponsoring entity, LifeWise, would make provisions and assume liability for students attending. Our local program will be purchasing liability insurance from Brotherhood Mutual. We have also provided a detailed example of this insurance policy in your folder today. This program will not require funds or administrative work from the school in order to fulfill our stated purpose and goal of teaching Bible-based character education to the students of our district. The program director will communicate directly with the students' parents and or guardians, so there's no oversight needed from the school administration, meeting the third requirement of privately funded. I've also been made aware that there is a deep concern in the board that other religious groups may also want to have programs. I will remind the board any program would need to meet those legal necessities of being parent permitted, off-school property, and privately funded, along with all other security and safety procedures and requirements. We are confident in the valuable message of LifeWise, and we welcome parents to decide what program is best for their children and their family. In conclusion, I just want to make it clear I'm asking you to maintain the release time for religious instruction policy as it is. I will leave you with the words of Jesus in Matthew 19:14. Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Please do not hinder the children of our district from learning about our Savior, Jesus Christ. Keeping this policy in place sends a powerful message that our school district wants parents to have every available opportunity to benefit their students' growth and diverse education. I challenge you to remain a school district that supports and respects the choice of parents by keeping this valuable policy in place. If you have questions about the program, I'll direct you to the chair, Jackie Mann. Thank you for your time.
Harvey Henshaw. Henshaw?
Hinshaw.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Board President and esteemed board members, my name's Harvey Hinshaw. I pastor Good Shepherd Neighborhood Church at 1520 Steyr Drive, New Carlisle. I live 13 Parkdale Drive in Arcanum, Ohio, which is an hour's drive away. Some of what they've already said could be repetitive, but I wanted to dwell a little bit more into the Supreme Court case of Zorich versus Clausen of 1952. In that case, there was a group of public schools that had allowed for release time. I'm going to read what they said. Under 3210 of the New York Education Law and the regulations thereunder, New York City permitted its school to release students during school hours on written requests of their parents so that they may leave the school buildings and grounds and go to religious centers for religious instruction or devotional exercises. The same section makes school attendance compulsory. Students not released stay in the classroom. The churches report to the schools the names of the students released that did not show up. The program involves neither religious instruction in public schools nor the expenditure of public funds. What had happened was one group of people were told that it was unconstitutional due to separation of church and state. Others said that this was not the case. Being a pastor, that's something that's kind of important to me, that we understand what separation of church and state involves. This program does not violate the First Amendment, made applicable to the states by the 14th Amendment. By this system, New York has neither prohibited the free exercise of religion nor made a law respecting an establishment of religion within the meaning of the First Amendment. There's no evidence in the record in this case to support a conclusion that the system involves the use of coercion to get public school students to religious classrooms. The New York Court of Appeals sustained this law And Mr. Justice Douglas delivered the opinion of the court. New York City has a program which permits its public schools to release students during the school days so that they may leave the school buildings and school grounds and go to religious centers for religious instruction or devotion exercises. A student's released on written request of his parent. Those not released stay in the classroom. The churches make weekly reports to the schools, sending a list of children who have been released from public schools but have not reported for religious instruction. This release time program involves neither religious instruction in public school classrooms nor the expenditure of public funds. All costs, including the application blanks, are paid by the religious organization. The case that they had before in which they said this was unconstitutional was McCollum versus the Board of Education, which involved release time program from Illinois, and in that case, the classrooms were turned over to religious instructions. We accordingly held that the program violated the First Amendment, which by reason of the 14th Amendment prohibits states from establishing religion or prohibiting its free exercise. In that particular case, it was because it was held on school property. What, I'll get to it later, the state law that we have allowing for religious release time has the qualifications that it must be off school grounds, it must be privately funded, and that the transportation must be by the group itself. So the appellates were taxpayers, residents of New York City whose children attended at school. Their argument stated elaborately reduces itself, the weight and the influence of the school is put beyond the program for religious instruction. Public school teachers police it, keeping tabs on students who are released. And this was part of why they held that particular case in Illinois was unconstitutional. The case here on appeal, the briefs and arguments are replete with data bearing the merits of this type of release program. Views, the pros and cons are expressed based on practical experience with these programs and with their implications. We do not stop to summarize these materials, nor to burden the opinion with an analysis of them, for they involve considerations not germane to their narrow constitutional issue presented. They largely concern the
Mr.
wisdom.
Henschel, that's your 5 minutes, sir.
Already?
Already.
I'm a pass.
I kind of let you have like a pause. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm a pastor, I would go.
I know, but you thank you.
I'm gonna ask somebody to give me a 1 minute.
Okay, we will take that under advisement. There we go. Linda Ayers, did I say that right? Yeah. Wonderful, thank you.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Linda Ayres. I am a pastor of Charis Ministry in Tipp City. My address is 805 Pinehurst Drive in Tipp City. Thank you for opening up the floor to hear comments concerning this really important subject to a lot of parents. In Tipp City, I had the privilege of going to a meeting at the Methodist Church a couple of years ago where I found out about Lifeways. It had been a real burden in my heart because I could see, as a teacher of 30 years and as a pastor, of watching what was happening to our education system and all of the things that were coming in at our children. And one of the big things that what really concerned me was the social emotional learning, which if you know anything about that, if you read anything about that, it is extreme liberal idealism. And there has just become this whole idea of separation between church and state, which is not true, but it has been presented as true. We started the meeting by pledging allegiance to this flag. And part of that allegiance says that we will respect this flag, one nation, under indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all means that there is no side that says you cannot have your belief. And we will not allow you to believe what you want to believe because we have a policy in place that prohibits it. And so that's kind of what we faced in Tip City. And we got together and we prayed and we decreed that we would bring religious instruction to Tip City. Tip City had a Board of Education that did not get along for like 5 years. And we came in and did our presentation. You know, God goes before us. He had already divided the waters, and I believe that he's doing that right here. Maybe not unanimously here, but there are some of you that know what you're hearing today is right. And I ask that you listen to your heart and the Holy Spirit speaking to you, because you will answer for your decision. And so that day when we met in front of that Board of Education was the first time in 5 years that it was a unanimous decision. It was a yes. And I believe it was unanimous and yes, because they could see the parents' support. If you don't have parental support, you're never going to pass a levy. Parents are waiting for you to stand up for what is right, and what is right in their eyes is the ability to bring religious education to their children. As a parent, as a teacher, as a grandparent, I believe that we need to support our children in these turbulent days.
Yes.
Amen? They're turbulent. Children don't know what they are. And it's because of the things that they learn in school. So let's start reversing that, and let's give them an opportunity for biblical education. So nothing can speak louder to the hearts of our children than the knowledge that God loves them. One day we had a little one leaving our program, and they turned to their teacher and said to them, "I never knew God loved me until I came to life once." And they are right. Children will say, "Grandma's going to the hospital, will you pray for her?" That kind of security and love is so needed in this world today. Now more than ever, schools must address character and mental health on top of providing academic instruction. Are we done?
1 minute.
1 minute? Okay. That's better than you done.
We learn as we go, and now we need to give you a couple more seconds, go.
That's true. So, I thank you, I forgot to do this, but I do thank you so much for your service to this district and to the parents and to the children. So I leave you with a quote from pastor and civil rights leader. "We must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." And that is what parents are advocating for now. In case you missed it, this election proved parents are waking up. Parents are demanding better. Thank you.
We have Ashley Lewis listed next, please. With the fan club? Yes. Ashley and her fan club?
I'm very short, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can even see me. Because I do not have the public speaking skills that my fellow committee has, so I apologize beforehand. But I want to say good evening. My name is Ashley Lewis. I live at 616 Winchester Street in New Carlisle, Ohio, and I have been a resident of the community since 2016. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for welcoming me here tonight and allowing me to have the opportunity to speak on this matter, which I am so very passionate about. I kind of want to speak on what she actually just left off with. I am standing in front of you today as not only a resident of this community, but also a mother of 7, whose children have all been enrolled within the Tecumseh School District at some point. I would like to address the importance of parent choice when it comes to their children's education. This is something that I know is very important to everyone here tonight. and also one of the main reasons that I chose homeschooling as the right option for me and my family. Today, none of my 7 children are enrolled within the Tecumseh School District. This is a decision that was made due to the lack of control that I felt I had as a parent to have a say-so in what my children were being taught. Also, the decline of character-building skills and morals being taught and enforced within the schools was concerning to me. The gender, that's crazy to me. God only made 2 genders, just so everybody knows. Within our school, I am very fully aware that these qualities should first and foremost be instilled within our children at home. It is very much so the responsibility of the parents to equip their children with these qualities, and then the school's responsibility to reinforce them and help them grow into part of our children's character. I also realize that sometimes our educators' hands are tied in many situations, and sometimes it's the parents stopping you from being the role models and the advocates for these children that you need them to be. I'm fully aware of that. And that you guys are in so many situations just as overwhelmed as the change in behaviors that we are as parents. That is the reason I am asking that you rethink your decision to rescind the release time policy. Allow us parents to be able to work side by side with our school district to improve the public education experience for not only the children, but also the staff members who are with our children every day. Let us keep the option to send our children to a program like LifeWise that could help in every one of the areas I just spoke about and that she spoke about. Making our schools better and safer place for all. Keeping this policy will send a powerful message that we trust parents to make the right decisions for their children, as they are the ones that know the needs of their children better than anyone. I should have the right to choose what's best for them, and I would also like to state that if there had been a program like LifeWise being offered within our school district when I was making my decision to homeschool my children 2 years ago, I may have made the decision to keep them in in-person learning. I would once again like to thank all of you for the opportunity given here tonight to be able to express my concern in this matter. I think that I speak for everyone here when I say that each and every one of you are truly and so much appreciated for all that you do within our school district and with our children, and we trust that you will make the right decision for everyone involved. Thanks and have a blessed night.
Board members, we've reached right about the 30-minute mark. We have probably another 35 minutes of speakers. Probably a little more than that. If you would like, we can take a motion to extend it and hear everyone at this time. If not, we can move on with our meeting.
Make that motion.
You would make a motion to extend and hear everyone, and Mr. Stafford will second it. Mrs. Robinson, will you take the roll?
Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Yes.
Mr. Diller?
Yes.
Ms. Clark?
Yes.
And Ms. Martin?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Carol Strayer.
Good evening. My name is Carol Strayer, and I live at 309 North Clay Street in New Carlisle. My husband's family has been a part of what is now Tecumseh District for over 100 years. My family moved to the district in the 1960s. My husband and I graduated from the district, our children graduated from Tecumseh, and our grandchildren are now arrows. I am a retired employee of Tecumseh, a taxpayer, and I'm an active voter. In the past, I have served for several years as the chair of Christian education for my church. More recently, I served as church board chair, and now I serve as co-deacon chair and the financial secretary. My church and its message of hope is very important to me. I am here this evening to express my deep concern for RTRI policy. I am concerned that the time taken from education time will be lost time. A proponent of LifeWise stated on New Carlisle Community Facebook page on November 7th that LifeWise Academy would provide busing to and from a local church for a few hours a week. A few hours. I know that the core classes are off limits, but I'm also concerned that students will miss classes that allow them to be more well-rounded students. Music has been found to help students with math by introducing repetitive songs that can help students memorize math facts. It helps students understand patterns, sequences, and order. Art can help students in developing creative thinking skills and collaborative skills. Gym class helps students develop lifelong habits of exercise for a healthy lifestyle and is its first experience with team building. Technology is important in this tech-centric world to develop skills beyond playing games and texting. Library is not just checking out books anymore. Students in our district learn to do research. The students are assisted with STAR reading and accelerated reading, which are core to our language arts classes. Lunch and recess allow students to make lifelong friendships. It also allows them to have free time and to blow off a little steam so they can focus for the afternoon. When will students make up missed work? Are teachers going to be required to give individualized lessons to bring students up to speed? There are already barely enough hours in the day to implement the state mandated curriculum. Facebook and websites connected with LifeWise present their program as curriculum, insinuating that it would become part of Tecumseh District's curriculum, which I don't believe it will be. What is taught by LifeWise has not been vetted by the district. It is not supervised by the school district, and this district cannot have input as to what is taught to the children. I am also concerned that the collision of viewpoints between LifeWise and the Donaldsville Character Education Program called PBIS. Other districts are reporting that students come back from time at LifeWise and participate in what our district has identified as bullying activities because other children and their family choose to stay behind. Children have no filter, and often this causes problems within the schools. I know that the people of LifeWise say that there is no interruption in learning. Teachers in other districts who have RTRI share that teaching has to pause on those days when students have RTRI because too many students are out of the classroom. My family pays taxes for my grandchildren to have a full day of school. How will the district handle multiple entities who want release time for the programs? I can see chaos ensuing. I have a list of districts that I would like to share with the board and Superintendent Crew. The list contains districts who have rescinded their RTRI policy because of issues that they've had with their experience with LifeWise, or they have reworded their policies to a more definitive guardrails in place. I can only suggest that the school board and the superintendent contact for a first-hand discussion of this experience. Thank you for your time. May I?
Yes, please. Wonderful. Next, we have Ms. Rita Lane, Mrs. Rita Lane.
Hello, thank you, Sue Ann, this morning. My name is Rita Lane. I live at 200 North Medway Carlisle Road. I've been a resident of this district for 40 years. I have two children, Rusty and Emily, who graduated from Tecumseh and both attended Ivy League colleges. So they got a great education here to prepare them. I have voted yes on every single school levy in 40 years. I am a charter member of the Tecumseh Education Foundation. Many of you don't know what that is. Tecumseh Education Foundation gives teacher grants and scholarships to seniors. I have been on that foundation and just recently resigned after 30 years of service to this district. So yes, I care a lot about today's children in our district. I have donated thousands of dollars to TEF, all anonymously, because I did not want to have a big halo above my head for doing that. By the way, I'm also a member of the New Carlisle Church of the Brethren in downtown New Carlisle. I encourage you to rescind RTRI for this district. Religious education should take place outside of the school day. When I was an elementary principal in Springfield City Schools for 15 years, we had religious education after school. Parents loved it. It was an after-school program. I think Lifewise could come to Donaldsville and bus children to Crossroads Baptist Church for an after-school program. It would be great for the children and for the parents if that's what they really want to do. I'm interested too in how many folks in red shirts here tonight are not from our district, because I did see a van out there with a Miami County license plate on it. My concerns with the program center on Lifewise Academy providing an evangelical Southern Baptist curriculum, even though they say they're non-denominational. This affects the religious freedom of other students and families. The curriculum is not readily available for parents to access.
All right, hold on. There's no, this is Mrs. Lane's time, so there's no need for any back and forth. Thank you.
This has been proven by people in other districts. The safety of our children is at risk. In some other districts, they have hired Lifewise people who have not appropriately been vetted through background checks, like our teachers do.
I'll step out myself because
How about
everything
sorry,
she's saying is not
for
true.
other?
And I just want to.
Sir,
You are
please
not-
exit. Thank you.
Sorry. I'll please try to keep this.
Please do.
I understand, but.
Sir.
I understand.
Thank you.
This is giving you an example.
I'm stepping out right now, but I just had to say
Please
that because I
do.
want everybody to know that none of that's true.
We didn't interrupt you.
Okay?
So what about other safety concerns for children? You know, active shooters, fire and tornado drills. And will special education students have their IEPs met when they go outside of the school building? Will parents be allowed to come in and observe the teaching, just like they're allowed to come in and observe in a regular classroom? Will school personnel, such as the school principal and/or the school secretary, be using school resources to promote the program, to provide information for that? That has happened in other districts. What about the absentee policy? If I were a parent and I came in and signed my child out for an hour every week, he would be counted absent. Are they going to be counted absent while they're outside of the school building? That sounds like an administrative nightmare to me. When will the program be offered? Carol made reference to that. Will it be offered during essential subjects or during lunch and recess? Will school lunches be paid by the United States Department of Agriculture? Because I understand all of our children here are on free or reduced lunch, which is a great thing. Many more questions really need to be addressed if you approve this RTRI policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list is Courtney Wilson.
Evening, everybody. Sorry, I have a little throat thing going on. My name is Courtney Wilson. I live at 1244 Chalet Avenue in New Carlisle. I'm the third generation in my family to graduate from Tecumseh. My husband and I both graduated from here in 2009, and we continue to raise our family in the district. I get the honor and privilege to be a program director for LifeWise Academy in 2 programs in Montgomery County, Northridge, and Huber Heights. So I've been living and breathing LifeWise for 4 years. A lot of things that, so it was discussed earlier, don't always believe what you see on social media. I would absolutely back that up. There's a lot of misconceptions on social media that a lot of you have probably seen in regards to LifeWise. My suggestion would be go straight to the source and ask them. Ask people that are well vetted in LifeWise. You are always free to call me. I know Jackie is doing an excellent job as well. So to answer a couple of the things that have come up, there is no core instruction time that is missed from LifeWise students. A lot of school districts offer this during library time. Good news is there's 66 books in the Bible, so they still get in plenty of reading time when they're in LifeWise. So they don't miss any instruction time. The ultimate thing here is allowing this to be a parent's choice, just like parents choose their kids to be in ROTC, Muse Machine, band, choir, all of those things. This is an additional choice. People have said it should be, take your kids to church on Sunday if you want them to have Bible time. Absolutely. The goal is to get these families to be at a church and bring everyone to know Jesus, but sometimes that just doesn't work for their schedule. Sometimes parents maybe didn't have a great experience with church, but they want their child to learn about it at LifeWise. Sometimes parents are more comfortable with LifeWise because we do kind of work side by side with the school. So they trust LifeWise more because we're kind of next to the school. LifeWise is not about dismantling the schools at all. We work really hard to have a great relationship with our school districts. We love our communities and our school districts. A lot of programs often serve at community events that the school has asked them, hey, can you help out with this? My programs have done that. To touch on something that Jackie said, one of my programs in particular, kids that have prayer requests of, I don't have food in the house. We hear that and we are able to work our connections, and that evening or by the next day we have food at that child's house. There have been other children that have disclosed some abuse going on. We are able to work with the school and CPS to get that child help. So we try really hard to work with the school. And safety concerns, background checks, we do all of that. We strive to be excellent in everything we do. We don't do things halfway. The child's safety is our #1 priority. So I would just really urge you to think about the parents, and it's their ability to choose. Some parents don't want this for those kids. That's absolutely fine, but some really do. And it comes down to choice. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next we have Tia Stryker.
I pass. I just
You
put my
pass?
Yeah, for right now.
Because you're stuck in the middle or what?
No,
Okay,
no.
thank you, Tia.
Hmm?
Is it Alicia Ward?
Yeah.
Did I say your first name right?
Yes, thank you. My name is Alicia Ward, and I live at 4818 West Route 36 in Urbana. And I was just asked by our board, our LifeWise board, to come here this afternoon to speak to you. Just to share my personal experience, I am the head teacher at LifeWise at Graham. And we started last year in January, and last year, we had 2nd grade, and it was a pilot, basically halfway through the year. let's get you one grade level and see how things go, kind of thing. And we started with 11 students in second grade. Oh, first of all, I kind of go back a little bit. I'm a retired school teacher, elementary teacher from Graham. So I was just recently just in that grade level. Second grade is where I finished up. So anyway, so we were given the second grade class started at 11 students. And hey, we had our volunteers, we were already reporting everything into these 11 students. And as the weeks went by, the students were able to invite their friends. Long story, we ended up at 47 students last year, and we continued from that second grade. We have third graders, right around 50 so students in third grade. And we were also given, since it was so well received by families and by the students, that we went from second grade to second, third, fourth, and fifth grade this year at Graham. And so again, each week we will add new students usually. And as a teacher, I just want to say, it is so exciting to see these students come in, so excited to come into LifeWise. I mean, as a teacher, yes, I was always excited, met them at the door when I taught, and wanted to see their smiling faces and everything, and get going and have a great day. Wow, LifeWise, it's like that every week. They come in, sometimes they're singing on the bus and makeup, let's go LifeWise. The enthusiasm is from their hearts, okay? It is, they come in, they are so excited. And as a teacher, I'm like overjoyed to be seeing this and to be a part of this ministry. I'm not going to address any of the other questions or anything, but as a teacher, I love the curriculum. It is set up so that everything is spelled out with, step by step, gives you choices on activities that you can use in the classroom that are fun, engaging, and get every one of those students participating. So that's been an amazing part of my personal experience. Another part of this is that the curriculum, or the curriculum, it kind of starts off with like head, heart, hands. You have that Bible passage, and then the heart is just linking everything, that lesson to Jesus in Scripture, and the hands, the LifeWise quality words. Basically those words that we want, all of us, I would think, to instill in our children, those wonderful qualities, honesty and caring, hope, those things that are part of, you would hope every family would want to instill, and LifeWise is a big part of that. And as a teacher, I know that was something important for me as well. And so, just exciting to see that. Also, the teachers, I said, boy, when I was getting started with LifeWise, 1 minute, okay. They are 100% for this. The second grade teachers loved it. Think about it, almost half of their students at one point were, at LifeWise during lunch and recess. That made it so that there weren't quite as many students there for, for duties, that kind of thing. So, and they said they would come in skipping and just smiles on their faces. And as teachers, you can't argue with that. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Next up is Sam George. I don't know where you went. There you are.
I was hiding in the corner.
It's great to see you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna change this up a little bit. I'm gonna be talking about. I'll be talking about the armed staff that you have on there. I've lived in this township for 52 years. 4088 Osborne Road. I have 2 children graduated from Tecumseh, 3 grandchildren. And this is something that I see as a former paramedic. I don't want to ever see again of the faces of the children being so scared of going down. Before I go any further, though, let's go back a little bit in time. In 1958, there were 90 students that died in a fire, structure fire. It has been 66 years, no deaths since. How'd they do that? What did they do? Well, they educated everybody within the building. They put automatic fire alarms in, smoke detectors, and sprinklers. Okay, they're fighting it from within. Okay. So if and when you have a violent situation, you call 911. Why do you call them? What are you looking for? What do you want from the police officers that show up? Okay, police have the tools needed to control or, if need be, eliminate the threat. In the event the school resource officer are not in the building, 5 minutes could be the arrival time of a police officer based upon the time the dispatcher receives the phone call and dispatches the police officer. Well, those 17 seconds, every 17 seconds, in accordance with Police Magazine, during an actually serious situation, someone is shot. Those 17 second intervals in 5 minutes. Do we really want to wait? Or do you want to have somebody from within that is trained with the proper tools? Let's take a lesson learned from the fire deaths and apply it here. Put the tools needed in that trained hands to eliminate the threat. If the threat's there, you have to eliminate the threat. At that particular time, whoever it is that's trying to do this killing is no longer a person. It is a threat, and you have to eliminate it. So I just want to let you know, I support this arming the staff in this school district. I support it 100%, and I hope other people will as well. One of the earliest shootings of schools actually occurred in 1764. Greencastle, Pennsylvania. So is it new? No. Is it tragic? Yes, it is. You can harden the targets, you can strengthen what's inside, train potential victims, improve law enforcement response times. All these have been done. Now you have no other choice but go from within. Mike DeWine, when he was the Attorney General back in 2012, made a statement. I would seriously consider having someone in that school who may be an ex-police officer, someone who has significant training, who has access to gun in the school. Think about that. Mike DeWine was in favor of making sure that you can eliminate the threat instead of letting it go on. And that concludes everything I have to say on that. I thank the board. I really appreciate it. Now let me get my arm back here.
And I see that, Heather, you wrote down you're going to pass. Okay. Next we have John McFarland, please.
Thanks for letting me speak. My name is John McFarland, and I live just north of here on Underberg Road, and I've lived in the Tecumseh School District for 20 years. I have two sons that started at Donaldsville Elementary School, and they graduated from the high school. What I remember, and only that, my points are very brief, I'll be done here real fast. When my sons were in church, they had programs available to them, but they couldn't come because they had practice at the school, or they were in sporting events at school. So it kept them from participating in the events at the church. I would have loved to have a religious program like Lifewise available for my sons when they were growing up. But also, when I was in ministry, I worked with dozens and dozens of kids from Park Lane, from Tecumseh Middle School, and from Tecumseh High School. And I was overwhelmed by so many bad things that they were exposed to from their own families, from their neighborhoods, from the kids right next door, just, you can imagine. It was just encouraging me to have something that's just positive, a positive influence for them. You know, schools can only teach so much, and they can only teach certain material. Students often need more teaching than a school can provide. And that's what I want to support LifeWise. The LifeWise Academy, their program is excellent. I looked at the material, and it's extremely well done. And I can say it because I was a pastor, and I've looked at many programs, and it's excellent. And the students learn about, yes, life lessons, they learn about God, they learn good moral values. And the one thing that I've learned when I was working with these kids years ago, just so many poor, bad moral influences on them. And I'm not talking just drugs and alcohol, it just was overwhelming how many bad influences they had. So I want to encourage the school board to keep the current release time religious education policy to allow for students in school to attend these LifeWise classes. Thank you.
Next up, sorry, we're laughing because we have coughing in unison going on while you all are applauding. Next up, we have Robin Morris, please.
Okay, that's a nervous vote, and that'll be on support. I have nothing prepared. I saw the agenda today. Do I have to tell who I am? Okay.
Yes, you do, Mrs. Morris.
Robin Morris. I'm a teacher at Park Lane Elementary. I teach kindergarten. This is my 29th year in our district from start to finish. Do I need my address? Do you need that?
We're good.
Okay.
I got you.
I am really here today because I opened our agenda for the board meeting today and I saw the information about arming staff. And I did not prepare anything. I just have some questions or concerns that obviously don't need to be answered right now, but thought about and considered. My first biggest concern is guns in school. If you were talking about trained staff, what does that look like? Who are we talking about? Are we talking about one gun that can serve somewhere tucked far safe away for one person that is trained to get to in a situation? Or are we talking about staff that have their conceal and carry and they have a gun with them? And obviously locked, whatever. But those are concerns for me. So what is the trained staff member going to look like and be like in our buildings? Coming from a K-1 building, that concerns me greatly. We have resource officers that are in our buildings. They show their faces. They are there. They are there for the kids. The kids know them. I feel like that has a feeling of being safe for our kids. And again, I'm in the K-1 building. But when I saw that on the agenda, I just want us to really take some time and think about that and what that looks like, what that entails, and how that will come about. Are the staff members going to have any kind of discussion about that, or is that completely a board decision? That's my other question. Are we going to have input, or is the input only here at this meeting? I was kind of just shocked when I saw it in the agenda today, and so those are just some concerns that I have as far as arming staff. And I just wanted to put it out there just so I didn't know exactly what was going to be voted on today or what was going to be talked about today. So I just want to make sure, you know, that we know specifically what we're talking about when we talk about trained people, and how that would look. And I feel like the staff should have some input in that, or at least some type of discussion before it's just decided upon. And I didn't know how that was going to go, and so that's why I'm here to advocate for the teachers and the staff in our district so that their voice can be heard as well if it needs to be. So that's where I'm at.
Carrie Castle.
Hello. Give me a second to organize, because I had my information, and then I'd like to comment on things. My name is Carrie Castle. I live at 78 Ravenwood Drive, which is in the district, and I have been employed by Tecumseh Local for the previous, all 28 years of my teaching career. Both of my sons are Tecumseh graduates, and my husband is also on staff at Tecumseh in a coaching role. Robin, I also, she hit on what I wanted to talk about super fast, because I know I only have 5 minutes. In regard to the resolution, item I just want to know why now. We've had conversations many times over the years, and the board and top administrators have always been opposed to arming teachers. I mean, all the way back to Dr. Gay and Mr. George talking about it when Sydney started bringing it out. So I don't understand why now in November, on a random Tuesday in November, all of a sudden we need to pass a resolution to arm our staff. The fact that I read about it for the first time in the agenda bothers me. It speaks to the quality of the relationship between the union and the school board. Financially, the words falling off the financial cliff are often spoken in these meetings, and yet we're going to pay for the trainings for staff to carry a gun. The information I have seen for the training is $650 with $200 to renew. I get $200 a year to buy things for my classroom. The reality of this resolution, I'm also concerned because I can't even speak for the teachers because I didn't have any time to discuss. Like I said, I also read it in the agenda. So there are probably teachers that are for this as there are teachers that are against this. My concern is the reality of the resolution is there will be teachers who no longer feel safe coming to work, and that's not okay. We will have families that no longer feel safe sending their kids to our schools, and that is no longer okay. For a district that's enrollment is on the decline, and for a district that already can't fill positions with qualified teachers, that's going to be an issue. I reached out to Michael today. He is reaching out to Kate, and we are going to send a letter to demand to bargain over this item because it's a change in working conditions for our staff. So, on that.
Okay, Carrie, I'm sorry, I'm going to pause you for a second and identify you as also the president of
Yes.
our teachers union, which I don't think you did up front, as you're speaking in those words.
Yes,
That's
for
why
that,
some of those things
yes.
are going on.
Now, I'm gonna switch. I know I'm also a third grade teacher in the district, and I want to talk about LifeWise. So, looking at the information, students attending LifeWise classes, this is all information from LifeWise website. Student attending LifeWise classes are not marked as absent for their student record purposes. Still, the hours cannot be counted towards attendance hours for performance standard reports according to the Ohio Administrative Code. So this will impact negatively our school state report card. We have attendance incentives in all buildings to improve our attendance rate. This goes against that. It will also leave less flexibility with our snow days because it will impact the hours of our students. LifeWise was, someone spoke and said it's comparable to ROTC and after school like sports. My children did not play football, and they were one of 2 boys that did not play football with all their friends that played football. However, you cannot compare LifeWise to not playing football because my children were never told if they do not join, they will spend their eternity in hell. It was just they didn't play football. So on their boosting enrollment site, send students back to school with invite a friend flyers found in the template library to share with students. Offer a treat or reward for bringing a friend. I do not know if it's board policy, but I know for as long as I've been in elementary, which is all 28 years, we've had policies that birthday parties even, if all kids are not invited, they cannot pass out their, they can't pass out invitations. If you're not inviting every single kid, so there's that. The secretaries are supposed to keep spare registrations. They're busy enough. Public schools are not mission fields. And then, since I only have a minute, I'm going to end with, well, one, they have to
receive mandated report training upon hire, and every 3 years, teachers have to do it annually. So they are not bound by the same thing we are allowed to. And a parent separation of church and state, plus all the logistics of SEL and our lunches are important and we can't suspend in K-5. A parent failing to prioritize the learning, the religious learning that they want is not on their time is not the fault nor the burden of the school. It's their job. We have vouchers, there are other options. Please rescind this policy. We have kids on free lunches. They will not be receiving lunches. It needs to be an after-school program. I know someone else spoke to that. We had Sunshine Club in Carlisle forever.
Thank you, Mrs. Castle.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Megan Middleton, please. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hi. My name is Megan Bedelon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
I'm very sorry.
That is okay. It is a very common mispronunciation, but it is Bedelon, yes. I am speaking today as a Christian, a lifelong resident of this district. I'm a graduate of Tecumseh. I have 2 students who are currently in Tecumseh schools and 2 more that will be shortly. I'm very active in my own church, and my children are becoming active in our church as well. And it's with all those things that I am asking you, encouraging you to rescind the BRTRI policy. First off, I am really concerned about the disruption to the school day that would occur with students exiting and entering the school building. I used to work for a school. I spent almost 8 years in a school. Any student activity is disruptive to the school day. With students entering and exiting the classrooms, I'm concerned it would disrupt the education of not just the students who are participating in the program, but also the students who have opted out of the program. I also am concerned just about the safety issues that with the students going off-site, the liability concerns. People have already spoken about how the background checks or the different requirements don't line up with what the teachers have to do. So I do believe it poses liability concerns. Sorry, I'm very nervous for public speaking, so I apologize. And I'm also concerned about the use of recruitment tactics that could cause peer pressure and lead to students who are not participating to feel left out, to feel like they are not a part of a special group. And in other districts that have implemented LifeWise, there have been reports of parents saying that their students have been bullied for not participating, and I'm concerned about that happening here in our district. I do believe that parents who desire to have their children to have religious instruction, as I myself desire my children to have religious instruction, should do so during non-school hours, and this should not be endorsed by our public school system. I believe that having this program during the day, such a large program, gives the impression that the school does endorse it and gives tax approval to the program and the curriculum, which would violate the separation of church and state. So I would encourage you to stand with your decision to rescind the policy. On a different note, I would also like to indicate my opposition to Army school staff. I did not, like many other people, have time to prepare a lot about that. However, I would encourage the board to look at Everytown research and policy that shows a lot. They've done a lot of research about gun safety, and they have shown that Army school staff does not lead to increased safety. It actually leads to additional risks in the school building by having guns there. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hi. Oh, thanks. No, sorry. That's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. Up next, I have Katie Christie, please. This is the last one we have on our list. Katie Christie? Oh, gotcha. Gave me a head nod from back.
Hello.
Hi, thank you.
My name is Katie Christie. I am a current resident of this district. I have 2 children.
who are also enrolled within Tecumseh Local Schools. I am a Christian and active member of my church in Park Lane, and I would like to encourage you to stay with the decision to rescind the RTRI policy. My concerns are numerous, but I'm going to limit it to just a few comments. My concern with time taken away from instruction. So I believe the model that was proposed was taking kids out of specials classes. I think that was one proposal. The specials classes, art, music, library, technology, physical education, they're all valuable classes that help our kids be well-rounded scholars. Not to mention, if you are having kids out of these classes, the message that it is sending those teachers, those highly educated teachers, about their time. Is their time valuable? I would say you would be telling them no if we are taking those kids out of those classes. The othering of students that opt out. This is a real concern for me as well. What happens to those kids who don't go? The use of incentives, prizes, candy, all of these things that make LifeWise seem like a great program for the kids that go. What happens for those kids who can't get permission or don't get permission from their parents to attend? I believe it could lead to children feeling like the outsider if they are not allowed to attend. This program doesn't have curriculum oversight by any elected official. That is a very real concern for me. Not to mention the extra work for the teachers and staff to determine what happens to the students left behind, as well as what happens for any extra work that is missed. I know it said it's only 50 minutes. 50 minutes is a very, very long time in the middle of a school day. I don't know how there could be a guarantee that a child is not going to miss something that they really needed to learn. My last point is that I just don't believe religious education belongs in public schools. And I wonder if the religious group that was trying to gain traction within Tecumseh was Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, or any religion besides Christianity, if we would be facing such pressure to allow the religious group during school hours. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you allowing all voices to be heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to commend you all who were able to stand up and speak. Public speaking is no joke. So thank you for taking the time and bringing your voices to the meeting. At this time, we have moved through the list, which is what the board voted to allow to happen with our motion earlier. I would like to request that we take a 10-minute recess before we move into the rest of the agenda. And you are welcome to stay for the whole thing. We have a 5-year forecast coming up that's exciting. So you're welcome to stay. You're also welcome to cut out if you need to. So thank you. We will come back together at 7. Thank you again. You're welcome. This one.